From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
And we're back with another episode of Dale Carter's America. I'm Dale Carter. He's Kurt Wheeler. And Kurt, I always tell people on the air the things that we're going to talk about, when I'm doing the show. It's like, I can't really get into all this because we'll get into it on the podcast. And I tell them, you need to subscribe. It's free. And you want to make sure you never miss an episode.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, that's probably the best place to find us. You get to see all the video clips and everything that we talk about, plus our beautiful faces. And you can also subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button, leave a comment, drop a like. It really helps the algorithm so that more people see us, and we appreciate it.
My oldest son, Drew, sent me a note over the weekend. He said, long time or first time viewer, first time listener, whatever people normally say when they call a radio show or whatever. So he finally got to the podcast and he was pretty impressed by it, I think. He's going to be 38 in August, so he's close to your age, right?
Yeah.
And I guess he had listened to it and not watched it on video. And then he saw it on video and he said, man, that guy you work with is a hippie.
Looks can be deceiving, my friend. Looks can be deceiving. But
don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. He's not entirely wrong. And do judge a book by its cover. So,
well, you're a musician, right? Musician, you got long hair. You're a hippie.
Yeah.
So we thank Bob Watson for sponsoring the podcast. He's been with us for a very long time now, and he's been a State Farm agent even longer for 5 decades. And he's ready to give you a rate comparison on whatever you have, your auto, home, life insurance. He's got it all. Anything you can insure, you can get it done through State Farm with surprisingly great rates. And Bob and his team ready to help you at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. But don't let the little geographic thing hold you back, because Bob is licensed in both Missouri and Kansas, and he can help you. So get a rate quote today. Everything that you have, you should have insurance on it, including your home. And that takes us to a brand new sponsor on Dale Carter's America. And this came to us through this guy's neighbor, Lisa Schifferdecker, who listens to the podcast all the time. We've talked about her. She's like one of our big fans here. And her neighbor, Michael Schroer, is a real estate agent with RE/MAX Heritage, and he is now part of Dale Carter's America. Michael is a lifelong Kansas City resident. He's got 35 years in the business, residential and commercial construction experience. He's got the knowledge required to help you find just the right home for your needs. And whether you're looking for that first home, your forever home, or even land to build your dream home. You just pulled up some land deals that he's working on right now, or something in between. Michael would love to help you out with that. He is a big fan of what we do on this podcast, and so if you're a listener and you agree with the common sense things that we talk about, and you're ready to make a move, either selling your home, buying your new home, or maybe building that dream home you've always thought about, Michael Schroer is the guy that you should call. You can reach him at 816-783-5800 or 816-520-9342. And again, his website, where he's got all his contact information, is his name, michaelschroer.com. Now, I asked him about this, Kurt, because, I grew up in a German town, and in German, O-E is pronounced with a long A, right? So it in the true German sense, it should be Michael Schreer, but it's Schroer.
Gotcha.
So you feel better about that?
It's because he's American.
He's Americanized.
He's American.
Well, my grandparents who came over from Germany, their name was Denig, okay? Denig, and they Americanized it, and it became Denning with I-N-G. So the things that we go through when we come to our...
That name was a little triggering. I think they needed to change it.
I think so. Life in Joe Biden's America. That's where we start today on the podcast. We are striking back at targets in Syria and Iraq. And boy, did we give them a lot of notice. First of all, let's pay tribute to the soldiers who were killed. And, the Biden administration says, we'll strike back, and we'll do it at a time and place of our choosing, any time that we're attacked. Kurt, do you have any idea how many times we have had strikes against our forces in the Middle East since all this crap began?
Since when? 30, 40 years ago?
No, I'm talking about just since, let's say, October 7th, when Israel was attacked and we got more involved. We moved some carrier groups over there. The Houthis started shooting at us. I mean, it's in the hundreds, right?
I have no idea.
So we wait until they actually kill 3 of our service members, Sergeant William Rivers of Carrollton, Georgia, Specialist Kennedy Sanders of Waycross, Georgia, and Specialist Brianna Moffett of Savannah, Georgia. Those are the 3 heroes who were killed. And so now that we've had some American deaths and a lot more wounded, by the way, now the Biden administration decides they are going to fight back. This the guy who Robert Gates, who is not a Republican, by the way. Robert Gates was the Democrat who ran Barack Obama's Pentagon. The quote that Robert Gates is famous for is, and I'm quoting exactly here, "I think he," referring to Joe Biden, "has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades." That's what Democrat Robert Gates, who was in the same administration with Joe Biden, said about Joe Biden. So let's follow the policy decisions that have led us to this point. Okay? The policy decisions. Joe Biden becomes president. What's one of the first things he does? Well, of course, he killed the Keystone XL pipeline. He opened the border, which we're going to get to in just a second. But one of the first things that he did was he reinstated the Iran nuclear deal. Right? Yeah. He got cozy with the Iranians. And there are a lot of smart people in Iran, and I feel really bad for them, but they are led by some really, really bad people. The clerics in Iran, they're just taking that country down a shithole that it's never going to recover from. So we get back in bed with the Iranians on the Iran nuclear deal. Okay, they start freeing up assets so that the Iranians can get more of their money coming in, where we had sanctions on them under the Trump administration. So we open the door. What do you think the Iranians were going to do with that money that they got back?
Build roads and bridges and feed the hungry and.
Yeah. No.
No? Oh.
No.
Sorry.
They gave it to people like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi terrorists. So if you connect the dots, that leads directly to the October 7th attack on Israel, which leads to our forces being there to support our ally Israel. They are our ally. And then they're under attack. Then we give the Iranians a heads up and say, hey, you killed some of our guys, so we're going to retaliate. We don't want a war with Iran, but we're going to retaliate in a way that we think is appropriate at a time and place of our choosing. So we start bombing some crap in Syria and Iraq. But we give them enough time so that all of their commanders on the ground, the Iranian commanders who are no doubt on the ground in Iraq and Syria, can get pulled back so they don't get hurt. Because we don't want a wider war. This is Joe Biden's foreign policy.
Yeah. And we have people, on our side, quote unquote, that are calling for war too. I mean, Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn being the 2 of the most prominent Republicans that have called for us to hit Iran directly. So things are escalating for sure. It's not looking good.
The feckless foreign policy that we have right now is inviting these attacks. There are people in the world who don't understand anything other than strength.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to bomb them, but you got to make them shit their pants a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they need to know that America's not to be messed with for sure. But
Ronald Reagan sank half their Navy. And they said, hey, do you think the Iranians want to go to war with you? And he's like, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
And he would just leave stuff hanging out there like that. And, when your enemies wonder what the hell you're going to do, the world is a little bit safer place. And right now the world is a much more dangerous place because our leadership is just so bad.
Yeah. And I think that was part of the strength of the Trump foreign policy, is that he's unpredictable. Nobody knew whether he was going to, you had all the libs when he was going to be president saying, this guy's going to have the nuclear codes and he's going to nuke the world and he's going to do this and that. And of course that was hyperbole and that didn't happen. But there is a certain amount of that is true, where it's like you don't know if this guy is going to retaliate in X way or Y way. You don't know what he's going to do. He says to Rocket Man, in North Korea, we could demolish you whenever we want, or he says to Putin, don't move or we'll blow up Moscow. And it's a play. It's like playing poker. You don't know if he's bluffing or not, and it's not worth the risk, so you don't do it.
Well, he got us out of the Iran nuclear deal because that was ridiculous. It was so bad, right? And he basically just told them that you build this thing, we'll blow it out of the ground before you ever get it off the ground.
Right.
Or we'll let the Israelis do it. The Israelis, it's a lot closer to them than it is to us, and the Israelis can take care of themselves. They're proving that after what happened on October 7th. Yet, and Biden he's in kind of a vice grip here because he's got people on the left of him basically calling him a baby killer because he's supporting our ally, right? And then he's got people on our side going, you've caused all this. It's just a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's that simple as far as the Israel-Palestine thing. It's not quite a left-right dichotomy because there are people on the right who are not supportive of Israel. There are people on the left who are not supportive of the Palestinians. So there's a weird kind of thing going on that's not quite left versus right, but to a large degree, maybe it's more establishment versus non-establishment or something like that.
Well, then I must be in the establishment because, when an ally of mine is attacked, for no reason at all in a terrorist attack, I'm going to support them all the way and let them do whatever they need to do. And to me, it's hypocritical of people in this country who, especially Democrats, who are out there saying, like Bernie Sanders is out there saying, we can't, that we have to have a ceasefire. Nobody told us to have a ceasefire after 9/11. We went over there and kicked some serious ass. And, war is war. You want to go back to World War II when we bombed the shit out of Germany. There was nobody out there saying, "Oh my God, you're killing all these civilians." It was total war, and that's what the Israelis are, man. They've been taking shots for years since that country was founded in 1948, and they're like, "We're done with this. We're going to end this." And if you don't want to be on board, America, don't be on board. But I think the vast majority of citizens support Israel in this and really need to stop these attacks that are coming from terrorists. Hamas, Hezbollah, and now the Houthis. Is it Houthi or Houthi? I'm never quite sure how to say that.
Don't know, don't care.
Yeah. So, it's time to end all this.
Yeah, and it also gets to American involvement and American support. I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but there's this new bill in Congress now, a new funding bill, where they're trying to hold border security tied to foreign aid. So it's like, oh yeah, we'll give 20 billion or whatever it is to border security, whatever that means, but we're going to give 80 billion to Ukraine. We're going to give 15 billion or 20 billion or whatever it is to Israel. And it's like, that's not how this works. We're not putting American sovereignty tied to foreign sovereignty.
I'm totally with you on that, by the way, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm completely against that bill. And, the new Speaker of the House has already said it's dead on arrival. And just for the thing that you mentioned, and Joe Biden going out there and saying, I could shut down the border tomorrow if I want to.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to. Go back to the debates when he was running for president, against all those people on that stage in the Democrat debate. He said, please come to our country. We want you.
Yeah,
right?
Here's the debate clip first. Let's watch this. I think this is the clip that you're talking about. But basically, in this clip, he says that somebody coming here illegally, just that in itself should not be grounds for deportation.
The Obama-Biden administration deported more than 3 million Americans. My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
No. Depending if they committed a major crime, they should be deported. And the president was left in his. President Obama, I think, did a heck of a job. To compare him to what this guy's doing is absolutely, I find, close to immoral. But the fact is that, look, we should not be locking people up. We should be making sure we change the circumstance, as we did, why they would leave in the first place. And those who come seeking asylum, we should immediately have the capacity to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
A 15-second, if you could.
Yeah.
If you wish.
Well, there you go. And now millions of them have done exactly what Joe Biden wanted to. In fact, the first wave, remember that? They were all wearing Biden-Harris T-shirts.
Right.
Right. I mean, that should tell you everything that you need to know.
And then here's the clip of him saying he could close the border. This is kind of a two-part clip because it's on Joy Reid's show, and she on a hot mic she says, "Oh, here he goes starting another fucking war," on the mic. But this is that clip that you were referring to earlier.
Over the weekend, President Biden said he's ready to take action if Congress is serious about solving the border issue.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another fucking war.
There's Joy Reid.
Yeah.
You got to love her.
And it's funny because he said that, but he's also at the same time going out and saying that he's done everything he can. There was I think he was getting off the helicopter or something, and you know how the press stands around and waits for the president. He says, "I've done everything I can. There's nothing more I can do. It's up to Congress. It's up to Congress." So he's passing the buck off to Congress, but then at the same time he's saying, "Well, if we give all this money to Ukraine and we give all this money to Israel, then I can close the border.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do it immediately." So.
Well, let's again go back because you had that clip from the debate where basically it was the green light for anybody who wanted to come in through the southern border. Millions of them have done it. And then I will point out to you that Joe Biden had both houses of Congress the first 2 years he was president. They didn't do anything.
Right.
He could have, if it's that easy that even a caveman could figure it out, why can't you get it through your Senate and your House of Representatives and sign it and get it done? Instead, he made Kamala Harris the border czar, and she said for how long that the border's secure. They just completely lied on all of that.
Yeah, hold on.
Are you? you're dicking around over there.
Lion, dog face, pony soldier. You said you were, but you're.
All right. Well, I'll tell you who's not a lion, dog face, pony soldier, and that's my friend Austin Watterson, because he runs a great company in town called Royal Roofing and Solar, and they'll take care of your roofing needs. If this spring is going to be the year that you put a new roof on the house, trust the folks who put the roof on my house. They'll do an excellent job for you. And Mike Dale is his solar expert, and while I don't think you can run an economy on wind and solar, you can certainly help mitigate the high cost of heating and cooling your home if you turn it into its own energy generation unit. And Mike Dale can show you how to do that. Get Royal Roofing and Solar on your side. Solarbyroyal.com if you're interested in that. And if you just need the roof done on the house, they'll take care of that. Maybe they could do both at the same time and save you even more money. RoyalContractingKC.com, 816-540-7057. Tax credits, grants for small and rural business and ag producers. They know all the avenues here that'll help you get the best deal that you can at Royal Roofing and Solar.
Tremendous people.
They are very tremendous people. Awesome people. Big Chiefs fans, too. Speaking of Chiefs fans, Kirk Doris and Lori Hocker, they're going to be rooting the Chiefs on in the Super Bowl, and they're rooting you on as you cross the finish line to 65. Anybody who's approaching 65, Kurt, and I know for you that seems like it's a million years away, right?
Yeah. Now I have a kid, so it feels like life is moving a lot faster.
Just wait. 65 is that time when, hey, Medicare's coming into my life. It may change my job circumstances. It may change what I need to do. But what's coming at you is from the government, so you know it's going to be very complicated. The folks who can simplify it and show you the best way, most cost-effective ways to fill the holes in Medicare, because there are holes in Medicare, they'll help you with that. It's Medicare Simplified KC. They are on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. If you are approaching 65 or you've got somebody who is in your family or your circle, make sure that they're on the phone with Kirk Doris and Lori Hocker at 816-701-6661. They've got their office at 3600 South Nolan Road in Independence. If you can't come to them, they'll gladly come to you and walk you through it. And it won't cost you anything out of pocket. They get paid by the companies who will help you fill those gaps. So they can explain all that to you as well. MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. All right, let's talk about some of the impacts of Biden and Democrat policies. This just absolutely sickened me, and it has sickened some people on the left as well. In fact, do you know the comedian Michael Rappaport?
Yeah.
Very funny guy. Even he is like saying, he's very, very left, by the way. Yeah. And he's gotten to the point where he will almost vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden based on what's happening here. and maybe you've seen this video. New York cops beaten by illegals. There's 2 cops, and they're going to go down, and you're just going to see these people just kicking the absolute crap out of them. If you've not seen the video, we're going to show it to you now. And then 4 of these thugs, and it's a word that I use, and I know I used it on my Facebook page, and somebody based on the Ravens-Chiefs game on the guy who slugged Patrick Mahomes right in the mouth, and I said it was a thug move, and they're like, well, that's racist. You can't say that. It's racist. We're
gonna say it.
I'm gonna say it when it's deserved by whatever race, white, black, brown, yellow, somewhere in between. I mean, when you do something like this, you're an absolute thug. Are you gonna show it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't think there's any audio.
There's no audio to it, but you see the cops go down, and look at these thugs. They're just coming in, they're kicking. There's one kick, there's a hit, and eventually the cops are going to just sickening. Aren't you sickened by this?
Yeah, I mean, it brings up a lot of questions. Obviously, we're talking about illegal aliens, so what are they doing here in the first place? And then on top of that too, it's sort of the culture of like anti-police, has really taken hold in society, especially in our inner cities, especially with younger people. They really don't like the cops. And of course there are bad cops. There's bad anybody and they do things wrong. But to see just like a gut reaction of like F the police and we're going to kick them while they're down. It's interesting.
Why would you want to be a cop these days? I can't even think. One of these days we're going to get into the whole DeValcanair thing in Kansas City, and he was he killed somebody in the execution of his job. A jury didn't see it that way, and so now he's rotting away in prison, waiting for the governor to step in and pardon him. But that's something we're going to get into at a later date. Back on these, 4 of these thugs were released with no bail. That happens in Kansas City, by the way, every day of the week. Released without bail. They are illegally in the country. They kick the shit out of 2 New York cops, and they get released. And do you think they were grateful that they got released? Show the video of them walking out of the court after they get released with no bail.
Yeah, here's a picture because it's uncensored. But of course, I don't know why they do this, but they censor the them
the fingers.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's clear. I mean, they got fingers, right?
Yeah.
It's the finger they're showing.
I wonder which finger they're holding up.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's the ring finger.
Just into Fox News.
Yeah, here we go.
Hey, you got a Lakers shirt on.
Just into Fox News now. NYPD making 2 more arrests. Illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And that attack on officers. Those suspects also allegedly stole an officer's cell phone. Well, that'll help them track you down. So a 5th illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret. He was seen, as you can see, giving his 2 middle fingers to the cameras moments after being released without bail.
Why do we believe that?
You're not a nice person.
Put the picture back up. We don't have to censor it on the podcast. We can show it.
No.
We can show exactly what he did. It's like, here you go. Here you go. Welcome to America. I just kicked the shit out of 2 of your cops, and I got released with... Guess what they did next? They used false IDs to get on a bus to go to California. Yeah. So here's the question. Are they going to go to California? Are they going to get off somewhere in the middle? I-70 is the major highway that runs east to west in this country. Maybe they get off in Kansas City. What do you think?
It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, they're certainly sending them here. So.
I mean, these smug bastards, I just want to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Right?
They're very, very beat-upable people.
Yeah. So this is, a good reason to be armed in your own house because, we've got fewer and fewer people wanting to become cops, and why would they? God bless the ones who do. But there's fewer and fewer of them. So, one of these thugs shows up at your house and starts kicking the shit out of you and your dog and whatever. And, it's going to be a while before 911 gets there. So, arm yourself.
Yeah. Or outside of your house, not just in your house.
Yeah. So on your property, just make sure. Okay. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right. In the House of Representatives, by the way, first of all, Kathy Hochul, the Democrat governor of New York, and the mayor, who was a former police captain, they were appalled by this. And I was watching them talk about this. I don't know if you found the video or not.
No.
Okay. So they were both talking about this, and Kathy Hochul said, well, this is a reason to deport them. Let's just get them deported, using the D word. Really? I mean, they're here because of your policies. You're a sanctuary city because you care. And so I don't know if these guys were sent there by Governor Greg Abbott, but Governor Greg Abbott's letting people go where they want to go once they come through his front door. And they wanted to go to New York.
Yeah.
So they went to New York.
And they're saying one thing and doing another. I mean, of course, you know, they want the popular support. They know that the cops are popular in New York, and this is a terrible event. So they're going to speak out against it. They're going to say, oh, this is bad. But you know, they're encouraging it. They've been encouraging it for years, and they have all these policies that are, you know, rewarding this behavior and rewarding people coming here illegally. And right around the same time all this is happening in New York, this story just came out yesterday. New York City to give migrant families prepaid credit cards under $53 million pilot program. So they're spending $53 million to give, quote unquote, migrants prepaid credit cards. They're putting them up in hotels. They're giving them free food. You know, they're encouraging them to go into the school system. So yeah, they're not putting their money where their mouth is. I guess they're not putting their mouth where their money is, because they're saying one thing and they're doing another.
Indeed, they are. In the House of Representatives, 59 Democrats voted with all of the Republicans to make illegals getting a DUI grounds for deportation. You know, that clip you played from Biden in the Democrat debate, he said that if somebody commits a bad crime in this country, you know, and they're here illegally, they need to be deported. Would he consider a DUI?
Well, actually, he's literally said before, I'll try and find this clip. He has said before that they shouldn't be deported for a DUI.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can have a DUI, that's fine, you know, give them a driver's license, give them a food card, whatever you want to do, right?
Here's the clip. This is from a few years ago. He was on Vice News, fallen media organization. We'll just say that.
What exact changes would you bring to ICE as an agency?
I would hold ICE agents accountable if, in fact, they stepped over my executive orders, which is no arrest of anyone outside of their school. Look at one of the things that's happening is, particularly for Latino and Hispanic kids, is the incredible pressure on them in terms of their sense of security. They go off to school wondering whether when mom comes and picks them up, is she not going to be there because an ICE agent was there to arrest her? Or she takes them to the doctor that she's going to not be there because she is, quote, undocumented, and an ICE agent is going to pick them up.
So how do you change the culture?
You change the culture by saying you're going to get fired. You're fired if, in fact, you do that. You only arrest for the purpose of dealing with a felony that's committed, and I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
All righty then. Way to go. That's awesome that you dug that clip up, because
it's really interesting because, like, the way that the rhetoric that he uses, you know, it's very pulling at the heartstrings. It's very, you know, you're trying to get the sympathy of the American voter. But we don't use that language with anything else, with any other crimes. You know, coming here illegally is a crime. It's a crime against the United States of America. And it should be punishable as such. But we don't talk about that with any other crime. We don't say, you know, if somebody beat up their wife in a domestic violence situation, a guy beats up his wife, we don't say, well, you know, really, the cops are going to come to his house, and with his kids right there, they're going to take him. They're going to take his father away. They're going to take the kid's father away. How dare they? You know, we don't say that because he committed a crime. You know, he should be arrested. We don't talk about that with anything else. It's just amazing.
But Kurt, if you'll only give him $100 million for Ukraine and Israel, he'll tighten up that border. He'll get that done tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just, are we the only ones who this doesn't pass the bullshit test?
No, I mean, I think a lot of people are aware of it, but
yeah,
we'll see in November.
All right. So, young people, have you seen this? Are calling President Biden Genocide Joe for his support of Israel.
I have not seen too many clips of that, but here's a clip. They're talking about it on CNN. One of our favorites, Van Jones.
Jones is out front now along with David Urban. Van, I want to start with something we just heard, though, in Jeff's reporting. Adam Abusalah, a former field organizer for Biden, telling Jeff that he will not vote for Biden again, even knowing that it may help Trump. He says Biden is just not somebody I can trust. How big of a problem is this for Biden right now, Van?
It's a big problem for him right now. There are 4 syllables that are aimed at him. Genocide Joe. That is becoming something that you're hearing from the younger people, from the younger voters, from the Arab American community. I think that he can turn it around.
What?
I think that he can turn it around. Community, from the younger voters, from the Arab American community. I think that he can turn it around. But you got to be honest. Right now, you got disappointment in the base with how he's handling the war in Gaza. Now, the reality is that Joe Biden has deep ties and long friendships in the Muslim community, Arab community. He can go back there, he can get back there, but he's got his work cut out for him right now.
Come on, man.
Okay, and then this kind of ties into it. The Chicago City Council. I just saw this, and it's like, it's almost like, what is it, The Onion? Is that the parody?
Yeah, or the Babylon Bee.
Babylon Bee, something like that. You know, the Chicago City Council calls for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Yeah.
It would almost be as funny, you know, if Quentin Lucas did that and called for a ceasefire in Gaza. Because the question is, when will there be a ceasefire in Chicago?
Right.
When will there be a ceasefire in Kansas City?
Well, there's been demonstrators. I mean, it's like it seems like they're caving to public pressure because there's been, you know, insurrections, you might say, all across the country in these state houses. There were even people that were at the White House a couple weeks ago trying to break down the fence at the White House. But
what? That's an insurrection.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But here's a bunch of, this is in Chicago, that's why I bring it up.
Got to be in rhythm when you do these things.
Yeah.
Can't be a beat off, if I can say that.
Yeah, I think clapping in unison is about all they're smart enough to do.
So the Chicago City Council calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Okay, then we go to the Boston area, right? Massachusetts Squad Representative Presley. She's the one who's like bald. Have you seen her?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I'm sure she has alopecia, like
Is that it?
Like Jada Pinkett Smith, the most annoying person in America.
Well, she can get a wig from Who's Her Face on MSNBC.
Oh, yeah, Joy Reid.
Yeah, get a Joy Reid wig if you want. So joining her, along with Senators Mackey, you got to say it like that, Mackey, and Warren, calling for hearings on why Walgreens, I mean, this stuff just makes me laugh. I'm sorry. They're calling on hearings for why Walgreens is closing stores in the Boston area. Why do you think Walgreens is closing stores in the Boston area? So Walgreens is a private company, right? They have locations everywhere. In fact, where there's a Walgreens, there's usually a CVS right across the street. And I get that this is a serious thing because in communities like this, you know, you want to have access to the things that you need, the pharmaceuticals that you need, the other healthcare items that you need that would be at a Walgreens or a CVS. But have you been in one in a big city lately, Kurt?
Yeah.
My wife and I went to Washington, D.C. last May, and there was a Walgreens right down the street from our hotel. And our hotel was right across the street from the White House. So this tells you the neighborhood that we're talking about. And you couldn't get anything that wasn't behind a locked cabinet.
Yep.
That's where we are. They put deodorant behind a locked cabinet. And then if you've got issues in these communities that Democrats aren't fixing. Again, this whole part of the podcast today are the effects of Biden policy and Democrat policies.
I swear I'm not just making this up. You know what isn't locked up, though? This is just one example, but you know what isn't locked up?
What?
The sunscreen.
Okay.
Let you figure that one out on your own.
Oh, boy. All right. So, I mean, they're locking everything up. Their employees are in danger because these are crime-infested areas, in areas where Democrats are like, crime, who cares? Just turnstile them out, get them back out on the street again. Illegal, beat the crap out of a cop in New York? We don't care. You're probably just misunderstood. Getting a false ID and going on a bus halfway across the country, it's okay. That's not really serious. And then, God forbid that this private company say, enough is enough. We're in this to make a profit. We're not in this, as a public service. We're a for-profit company. We say that a lot around the radio station. We're a for-profit company. And they're not getting enough profit. Their people are at risk. And so they close their doors. And these people are aghast. It's like, my God, we got to have hearings.
You want to watch the clip of
sure.
the bald beauty herself? Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, Walgreens is planning to close yet another pharmacy in the Massachusetts 7th, this time on Warren Street in Roxbury, a community that is 85% Black and Latino. This closure is a part of a larger trend of abandoning low-income communities like the previous closures in Mattapan and Hyde Park, both in the Massachusetts 7th. When a Walgreens leaves a neighborhood, they disrupt the entire community, and they take with them baby formula, diapers, asthma inhalers, life-saving medications, and of course, jobs. These closures are not arbitrary, and they are not innocent. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination.
Wow.
That is why I joined with Senator Markey and Warren to demand answers from Walgreens CEO. Why was there no community input, no adequate notice to customers, and no transition resources to prevent gaps in health care? Shame on you, Walgreens. Having a website with talking points about health
you can cut her off.
You are fake news.
Can they not look in the mirror and say, gosh, what did we do to deserve this? Because we're running this town, right? This is one area you can't look at and say, oh, this is the Republicans' fault. Except for, I guess, the Republicans who own Walgreens. It's their fault. Can't they look in the mirror and say, what have we done to cause this, and how can we fix this?
Yeah, it's like very basic, logic. Like, why? Maybe ask why. Don't just say, oh, Walgreens is closing in Black neighborhoods. It's racist. It's like, why are they closing? What's happening at these stores? I wonder, is there a possible reason for this? Is there maybe something that could be changed so that they don't close? Nope. Not even going to try.
Yeah. Okay, so then there, and she, by the way, she didn't pronounce his name right. It's Senator Mackey. It's Senator Mackey. Half of this is from the University of Chicago, Illinois, or University of Illinois at Chicago. A study that they did, their researchers there. Half of American cities could lose a quarter of their populations by 2100 if the current trend continues. Yeah, I mean, does that not make sense?
Yeah.
They're fleeing the cities. Why would you want to live in one of these places?
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense.
If you can get out, get out. That's why do you think we have an earnings tax in Kansas City, Missouri and St. Louis, Missouri? This goes way back. It's because people have said, we don't want to live here anymore. We want to live kind of close by because we're Chiefs fans, Cardinals fans over in St. Louis, but we don't want to live in the middle of this. It's a hellhole. And it's getting worse. I don't know that in my lifetime it's been this bad. I mean, you may have to go back to the 1960s and the race riots that were happening to get to something like this. And this is not a race riot. And we've talked about this many times. This is black on black crime. This is and people getting away with it, and prosecutors who won't prosecute, and cops who don't want to take the job anymore because they don't have the backing of leadership. Why would you? Jeez. All right, so half of American cities could lose a quarter of their population by 2100. And then there's this. All of this, the effect of Biden and Democrat policies. This shocked me, Kurt. Tesla is being sued by 25 California counties for mishandling hazardous waste. EVs have hazardous waste? Seriously?
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
Apparently, they agreed as of February 2nd, Tesla agrees to pay $1.5 million to settle California hazardous waste lawsuit.
I thought EVs were going to be the panacea, that we would get to a point in time where we would have 72-degree high temperatures every day. We'd get just the right amount of rain. It would be perfect.
Yeah.
It was going to be a perfect world. Did I talk about this last week? This kind of thought occurred to me. I was getting gas for my car at a Quick Trip, right? And I was thinking about this because all the pumps were full, and what's a Quick Trip have? Maybe 25 pumps?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Okay. And how quickly are you in and out of getting your gas tank filled?
5 minutes, if that.
If that. And that's if you go in to pee and maybe get a drink, something like that. I've done that before. How long does it take to charge? Let's say they had adequate numbers of charging stations at all of the gas stations, that Joe Biden's dream of everybody driving one of these hazardous waste containers, everybody's got them. How many charging stations do you think you'd need? Because it's going to take like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
20 minutes out of your day. Now, again, Kurt's a young guy. He's not thinking about this. I'm thinking the finish line's coming. I'm on the back nine of life. And I don't want to spend all that time waiting for my car to charge. These days, first of all, you can't find a charging station. Good luck. What's the map there?
So this is chargefinder.com, just based on a Google search. I don't know.
I love that.
But I'm sure that this is probably not completely accurate. I mean, you can see that there's a bunch in California, of course. Denver, there's a bunch. Let's zoom in on Kansas City, see what they have here. So there's some. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what.
But again, let's say we got to 75% penetration on EVs, and it takes 20 minutes to charge that vehicle. Do the math on how many you'd have to have, and then what the hell are you going to do? I guess take a book with you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be wasting a lot of time getting this done. Now, am I saying that I'm not for progress in these things? Of course, I'm for progress in these things. Do I want to go back to 1900 where we were putting God knows what into the air? Of course not. But there's a reasonableness about this that we have skipped. We've skipped from, we're getting better. Okay, now we're horrible and it's the end of the world as we know it. And if we don't all start driving EVs within the next, they always put a goalpost out there. What's the current goalpost? Is it 10 years?
I don't even know anymore. It's hard to keep up with.
It is hard to keep up with. So there you go. The shocking news that Tesla sued by 25 California counties for mishandling hazardous waste. And that's just some of the things that are going on in Joe Biden and Democrat-controlled cities in America, the effects of their policies. I mean, you really need to think about that. You got this policy. It sounds awfully high-minded and everything, but what is the effect on the ground? What's happening in our cities? What's happening with our vehicles? Ask the question. That's what we do on this podcast, okay? And then, when you think we're full of shit, and we are sometimes, I'm going to tell you that. I am. Will you ever admit that you're full of shit?
I mean, on some things.
You're full of shit.
All right.
You're full of shit.
It's all got to come out of the same place, right?
Yeah.
So you need to go see our friends at Midwest GI Health. They'll get you set right up. Somewhere I've lost that in all of this copy. What is going on here? See, it's a Monday. It's the Monday before the Super Bowl, and I
think you can wing it. I
can I can wing it.
Yeah.
Dr. Taramina and his pals there at Midwest GI Health. They'll take care of you. I mean, let's face it, colon cancer is a killer, and if you're approaching 45 years of age, that's the new cutoff. I mean, it used to be 50. I remember forever when you turn 50, got to get your colonoscopy. Well, these days that number has come down to 45. And that may be for some of the stuff in the environment. We're getting more and more cases of colon cancer. But colon cancer is something that can be treated. Let Dr. Taramina and his staff at Midwest GI Health get that done. There's a nice picture of him telling somebody, hey, look at that. You passed. I don't want to see you in here again for 10 years. You have his website?
They look pretty happy. I mean, he's probably not saying like, hey, you're going to die. You have cancer. They look happy.
Yeah.
MidwestGIHealth.com.
All right. MidwestGIHealth.com. And they are in Lee's Summit. And it's one-stop shopping. And they can do the upper and the lower. They can take care of you and get it done. Oh, there's a picture of him. He's getting ready to do a procedure. Yeah. Look at that. He's got the big face mask. That looks like almost like a COVID thing.
That's the shit guard right there.
any splash coming at you, Dr. T? I don't know. And then when you've done all that, then you gather all your troops and you go to Funhouse Pizza, because let's face it, when you've done the prep, you got a completely empty tank. Got to fill that thing back up again, and nothing fills it up better than a huge topping-laden pizza from Funhouse Pizza. They're at 7 Highway in Blue Springs, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit. Jim Dingman's crew, they will take care of you. Whether it's just, you want to go someplace for dinner that's fun, or you want to get the softball team, the Little League team together, maybe whatever club you got going on, you want to have a meeting, it's fun at Funhouse Pizza. They've got games for the kids. It's a great environment, and the pizza's fantastic. The beverages are very cold. Just make sure you pull your pants up. That's all Jim Dingman asks of you at Funhouse Pizza. All right. The case to keep Donald Trump off the ballot I guess the Supreme Court is going to hear it this week. Our podcast will hit, what, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay, it'll hit on Wednesday. Thursday is when the High Court is going to hear the Colorado case. And maybe, some of the justices might ask the people in Colorado. Their Secretary of State is going to speak on behalf of the 4 justices who went this way, the 3 who went the other way, all Democrats, by the way, including the Chief Justice in Colorado, wrote scathing reviews of this. If I were a justice, I would say, what the hell are you people smoking in Colorado? I mean, I know it's legal and everything.
Well, we all know what they're smoking in Colorado.
What the hell are you smoking in Colorado? Okay, so Colorado went first with their state Supreme Court decision, as I said, was 4-3. Maine's unelected Secretary of State went next, and she said, we don't want Donald Trump on our ballot either. Well, her Supreme Court in Maine, they've read the Constitution, and they said, oh, no, you can't do that. The Illinois Election Board, they made a decision last week that they don't have the authority to keep Donald Trump off the ballot. So I thought, we started this podcast right after Joe Biden was inaugurated, and we started by breaking apart the Constitution, all of the, the articles of the Constitution, and then we did the Bill of Rights. We did not get as far down as the amendments that were added to the Constitution that came out of the Civil War during the Reconstruction period. So the left is focusing on the 14th Amendment, and they are looking at Section 3. So I thought we could read that, and Kurt, you're closer to it. Why don't you read? Now, this is the educational portion of the podcast, and this will help you when, your friends on the left, and I got into it with my friend John Paul Gasca, who lives down in Florida. He used to work for me at KFKF, but he is very much on the left. And I put out, remember, I don't do a lot of politics on my personal page anymore. My wife doesn't want me doing that. And really, the podcast page is where I put all my political stuff these days, except for this, because I thought it was so universal that you can't just kick people off the ballot because you don't like them. I don't like Joe Biden, and I'm not for going after him in red states and trying to kick him off the ballot for things he may or may not have done. But on the left, it's like, and I can't believe they're doing this either, Kurt, because they feel like they can beat Donald Trump with one hand tied behind their back. I remember when Biden ran against him in 2020, he said Mickey Mouse could be on the ballot and beat this president. And it turns out Mickey Mouse was on the ballot, and he is the current president. So the Section 3 of the amendment is what the left is banking on here. Why don't you read that?
Okay. Amendment 14, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability.
Okay, let's break that apart here a little bit. When you say elector of president or vice president, I mean, those are the electors who are chosen for the Electoral College. So nowhere in Section 3 does it reference President of the United States, right? Do you see that anywhere in there? Does it reference President of the United States? I'm going to shoot this thing full of holes. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, it was put in there so that people who led the rebellion in the Civil War could not run for Congress after the Civil War. Okay, they clearly led a rebellion and an insurrection. Okay, let's look at the word insurrection. None of the people who went into the Capitol on January 6th were charged with insurrection or treason. None of them, right? Mm-hmm. They were charged with being in a federal building illegally, causing some mayhem or whatever. They were not charged with insurrection or treason. Okay, Donald Trump, amid all of these charges against him, not one of them is for insurrection. Not one. He hasn't been accused of it, clearly hasn't been indicted for it, and clearly has not been tried for it. All right.
Well, he's definitely been accused of it, but he hasn't been formally accused.
Not formally accused in court. And that's important here. Okay. And then my friend John Paul Gasca goes, there's nothing in Section 3 that says he has to be tried. Okay. You want to go that route? Let's go to Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, because this is the one that to me makes this an easy 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court of the United States. And we don't even need the whole Section 1 clause. All you need is the last phrase.
You want me to just read the last? I'll read the last half. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
Okay, so what does that mean?
That means that you can't just be thrown in prison without due process. You can't be, charged with a crime without having the ability to defend yourself in court.
But Kurt, we don't like him. He's mean. Isn't that enough?
I guess. I mean, according to them, I guess. I don't know. I mean, and my whole thing is like just the insane, laughable nature of this whole thing. I mean, we're sending like, what is it, close to $200 billion now to Ukraine. We're clearly prioritizing other countries over ourselves. We have a sitting member of Congress who slept with a Chinese spy. I mean, if that's not insurrection, how is Trump tweeting about the election being stolen? How is that insurrection? It's just, It's so crazy.
And if you tried this in a court, there would be two sides to the thing. They would have their accusations and their videos that they would show, and then the other side would show a video from Trump that said, I want you to protest peacefully and patriotically. Those are the two big words that he said that day, right? And, maybe Trump got some bad advice. The advice he got from a lot of people was, hey, on January 6th, you can flip this thing. You can flip it. Mike Pence can flip this thing in the counting of the electoral votes. Turns out that wasn't true. And Mike Pence wasn't going to do that. But does that stop people from protesting what they believe? Donald Trump's First Amendment right to say what he thinks? He didn't go there and say, burn the fucking thing down. He said, go there and protest peacefully and patriotically.
Right.
I mean, that would come out in a trial. But they don't want to have the trial. They just want to say, hey, 14th Amendment. All you got to read is Section 3. And I know it doesn't say president in there, but he's not a nice guy, so we're just going to take him off the ballot.
Yep.
That's horrible, and that's why this ought to be a 9-0 decision. I'm counting on the 3 liberals to be Americans before they're liberals, and we'll see if that happens or not. Meanwhile, Jim Carville, our favorite from the Clinton years, he says, it's hatchet time. It's hatchet time. Do you have that clip?
Yeah, I was looking for hatchet time. He says cleaver. Maybe that's what you were talking about. He says time to take a meat cleaver.
Oh, maybe I got that wrong. Okay, let's fine.
Check it out. And then here's our favorite former press secretary. The only person duller than her is the current press secretary.
You know what's funny about what you're just doing there, if you're watching on the video, is you are circling her with the cursor on your computer. And one of her favorite lines when she was the White House press secretary is, I'll circle back on that.
Yeah.
I'll circle back.
Yeah, well, she circled back to a job at MSNBC, which I'm sure she's getting paid quite well for, so good for her.
I would tell the president in his campaign this, we got your back, dude. We're going after him with a meat cleaver, okay? You cannot let him up. You can't normalize him. You can't let him off the canvas, not for 1 second. And it might not be the most fun thing to do in a campaign. It might not be what I want to be doing when I'm in my 80th year, but it's what's necessary. We don't get to do what we want to do. We get to do what we got to do. And that's where we are right now. We got to keep the foot on this guy, right on his neck, take our heel and twist it.
Yeah, geez. Little violent rhetoric there, perhaps?
Meat cleaver. Got to meat cleaver.
Now, I wanted to play that again because I'm not sure this could be just this particular Twitter clip, but watch
going after him with a meat cleaver, okay?
See that?
No. What am I missing?
Okay? You cannot.
There's a cut right there.
They edited it.
Right after he says meat cleaver. I'm wondering who this is from. Well, it's from Sebastian Gorka, but I don't know where the actual clip is from, so... I don't want to make any assumptions. It's possible it's just the edit of this particular video on Twitter, but there's a clear cut right after he says meat cleaver.
Meat cleaver.
It's like, yeah, maybe tone it down a notch there, James.
I like hatchet time. I wish he would say that. Say hatchet time instead of meat cleaver. So
He's just a like angry,
disgruntled
old man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
How many cases are there of traumatized youths from the Joe Biden sniffing incidents? Right?
Yeah.
Can we try those in red state jurisdictions? Is that where we're headed? You know, if we don't like somebody, dig. Let's tie them up in court. We could do, oh, here we go. Is this like a super cut of sniffs?
It is.
Oh, I love it. Here's Joe.
Okay.
Oh, there was the hand. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Hey, you. That's a little close to the boob there. Nice. Look at her. She's traumatized. Oh, my God. He kissed her. Hey, watch that hand there.
No date till you're 30. Hey, Angel, how old are you? You're 12. What's your name? How are you?
Oh, you have such nice hair. I just want to pet you.
All right, sister. I like kids better than people.
Yeah.
Oh, where's that hand going? My God, she's like 7 years old.
Grandpa's one of the big guys.
That's nice of you to say.
No, I'm not saying. He knows.
How creepy is this guy?
It's almost unwatchable. I mean, it's serious predatory behavior in my opinion. And
so,
should he be sued? Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's like, oh man.
But is that where we want to go? That's not where I want to go. Where I want to go is we have our ideas, they have their ideas, and their ideas are in play right now, and they are so bad.
Yeah, but that's like, that sounds good, and yeah, that's true. But we're at metaphorically and hopefully not literally, but it's going that way. We are at war right now. I mean, we are in a soft civil war as a country, and we're having lawfare, used as a weapon against us. So we need to retaliate. I mean, it's that simple. Do we want to win, or do we want to win and save the country, or do we want to take the moral high ground and lose? That's pretty much the decision.
I get it. Clyburn is out there talking about Joe Biden. He won the South Carolina primary very convincingly. It was the first time his name was on a ballot this year. They skipped Iowa. They skipped New Hampshire. And they did it because of the bargain that Biden made with Clyburn that made Harris the vice president, that got him a pick on the Supreme Court, and blacks overwhelmingly voting for Joe Biden. And, my question there is, I don't live in the inner city. I would not subject my family to living in the inner city. You folks are voting for this. Are you really supporting this? We've talked about this. Walgreens are closing. Do you want to blame Walgreens, or do you want to blame what's going on in your own city, in your own backyard? I mean, I guess you deserve the government that you vote for. I've always believed that. So if that's the way you want to go in Kansas City, in St. Louis, in Chicago, and New York, you get what you deserve. And if you want to sit there and blame it on other people, you can. But if you vote for it and you support it, you get what you deserve, don't you think?
Yep.
So before we leave this particular section of the podcast, and speaking of trials, what do you suppose E. Jean Carroll plans to do with the $83 million a Trump-hating jury awarded her? They were asking for 10. They got 83. And again, let's go back to this. Trump says he never met the woman. Never met the woman. Okay, so she sued him civilly and got a civil conviction, not a criminal conviction, a civil conviction. And then Trump went out and said, I've never met the woman. So they sued him for that.
Yeah.
And this is why she got $83 million. She goes on with Rachel Maddow, and Maddow's like, of course you're going to use this for women's rights issues, right?
In a way.
You've talked about using some of Trump's money that you're about to get to help shore up women's rights. Do you know what that might be, what that might look like?
Yes, Rachel. Yes.
Tell me.
I had such great ideas for all the good I'm going to do with this money. First thing, Rachel, You and I are going to go shopping. We're going to get completely new wardrobes, new shoes, motorcycle for Crowley, new fishing rod for Robbie. Rachel, what do you want? Penthouse? It's yours,
Nothing.
Rachel. Penthouse and France? You want France?
They're
you
so
want to go fishing in
uncomfortable. Look at
France? No? Oh.
Uncomfortable
All
laugh.
right, all right, okay.
That's a joke.
Yeah, somebody says, that's a joke. That's a joke. It's not happening. That's a joke.
Although if me fishing in France could do something for women's rights, I would take the hit. You know, I would obviously
Trying to bring it back to women's
take
rights.
one for the
Like
team.
she gives
All right,
a
let
shit
me
about that.
as if you need persuasion in that regard. Let me.
The good news out of all this is when a grown-up actually looks at this case at the appellate level, they're going to throw it out. So she's never going to get a dime of it. So good
We'll
luck to
see,
you.
man. I mean, we'll see. I'm not so confident in that, but we'll see.
All right. I am confident of this, that if you're insured by one of those cut rate insurance agencies and something goes wrong, you're going to wish that you had taken my advice and called Bob Watson and gotten a rate comparison. Blue Springs local State Farm agent for 5 decades at 7th and Main in Blue Springs. You can reach him at 816-229-7878, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance. They do boat insurance, and it won't be long before you'll be getting the boat out and putting it on the lake. And he is officed in Blue Springs, but licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. You see all the great commercials as we go into the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. Well, the guy behind all those commercials making it happen is local State Farm agent Bob Watson. Give him a call, get a rate comparison, get his team working for you. When you need them, you'll thank me for this. 816-229-7878. Mention getting the boat out, Kurt, because on the bright side, Punxsutawney Phil. This is old news by now, but if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, you know we can get trapped in this loop for a while. Punxsutawney Phil did not see his shadow, so spring is right around the corner. Are you excited?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This, as we record it on Monday, is National Weatherman's Day, so we congratulate Dan Holliday, our meteorologist at KFKF on Weatherman's Day, and point out that Punxsutawney Phil is only right 39% of the time. Still, as we record today, spring is just 42 days away. Do you want to leave us with something here? You got something?
No.
You're digging around
I was
for something.
looking for a video, but it's just, man, Groundhog Day is like, it's so interesting. Like, where the heck did that come from?
You know why I think it's interesting? It's because
so weird.
It's about halfway through winter and people are just looking for hope, right?
You've seen like the videos of Groundhog Day in Punxsutawney? It's crazy. There's like thousands of people there. They all have their phones out. There's like paparazzi and there's like a whole thing. I mean, it's wild.
You know what? Every town's got to have its big thing.
Yeah.
Kansas,
no, I'm in for it, man. It's a cool tradition. It's weird, but it's cool. I like it.
Kansas City, our team's playing for the Super Bowl. We're going to get some World Cup games. Punxsutawney, they don't even have a stadium, so they've got Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Everybody has something, I guess.
Yep.
And I'm going to leave with a smile because Punxsutawney Phil did not see his shadow, so spring is just around the corner, or in other words, just 42 days away. And just 7 days away, we're back with another episode of Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.